following is a presentation of KSL Sports. Hello, Cougar Nation.
Handoff middle. First down. Touchdown! And listen to the Cougar Nation.
Every Monday night, we break down the Cougars' last game and look ahead to next week. Cougar Nation, brought to you by Central Bank. Here's BYU insider Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
Good evening, Cougar Nation. Oh, what a game it was against Kansas State. Hope you had a great weekend, and I think all of BYU fandom and Cougar Nation, Mitch, they're living moss, if you know what I mean.
They sure are. Cougars get it done. Take down Kansas State 38-9 in Provo in one of the best atmospheres I think I've ever seen inside Lavelle Edwards Stadium. It was quite the night for BYU as the Cougs take down the Wildcats. They're now 4-0 on the season, number 22 in the AP Top 25, and they're 1-0 in Big 12 play. We want to take your phone calls throughout the next hour. 801-575-8255. How does this win change your expectations for BYU football this season? Or call in and share your thoughts on any questions or commentary you might have, your experience inside the stadium. We want to hear from you. 801-575-8255. But, Matt, let's get to the takeaways.
Cougar Nation, takeaways. Mitch and Matt analyze BYU's last week of play and what it means for the next week.
Huge win for BYU, and it, just as we all expected, Cougs win big over number 13 Kansas State. No, none of us thought it was going to be a blowout win for BYU, but you know what? There was feeling that, BYU could win, and they do get it done, and it was such a impressive showing and one of the wildest turn of events you'll see in a college football game.
It was crazy. I've never seen anything like it, Mitch, in my entire life of watching college football. I can't even think of another game where Kansas State was playing better football than BYU throughout the majority of the first half. Then you force a turnover. That leads to another turnover, and then another turnover, and then the punt return. The momentum never slowed down. It was an avalanche of momentum that BYU rode to a massive 31-6 lead, and it felt like when Kingston took that long punt return back, the game was over. But my first takeaway comes back to the first couple Kansas State drives. This defense is becoming a real reason why BYU could be heading towards a special season, in particular the red zone defense. No touchdowns allowed a couple weeks ago at SMU. You see how many they put up against TCU, yeah. Mitch? Over 60 points against the Horned Frogs. They had no problem moving the football. This Kansas State team handily beat Arizona recently, and then they come in here and they don't score a touchdown. BYU's defense in the red zone is currently ranked 32nd in all of college football. That's a really good spot to be at. Some of the teams in the top 10, Ole Miss, that's a playoff contender. Texas, maybe a national champion contender. You're looking at Tennessee. They're knocking on the door of being a national champion contender as well after what they did at Oklahoma. So if you have a great red zone defense, Mitch, you can dream up special seasons. And right now, through the first, one-third of the season, this BYU red zone defense is special.
It's the best BYU defense since the Kalani Sitake era, and that's my number one takeaway from this game. I thought the best defense in BYU under Kalani has been 2020. That was during the COVID year. You just look at the personnel. I know that schedule was weak because they had to cobble up a schedule on the fly, but the personnel on that defense was really good 4 years ago. This is a better defense, and they're so aggressive, and it was pretty cool. We saw Jay Hill with 90 seconds left in regulation. We saw him going down the elevator at the end of the game. Or you might have actually already been down. I was in the elevator with him, and you could just see how happy he was. He was with his wife, Sarah, and Jay Hill called a masterful game once again, and they did a great job. There was a moment where you thought, okay, are they going to – Tyler Batty was saying on the sideline, bring two spies on Avery Johnson, and then the tides turned for BYU as they get that scoop and score from Tommy Parasis. They get the pick from Batty. They get the pick from Taggart. Then a special teams play. BYU's defense is making big plays, and that group is good enough despite any of the issues the offense, has maybe in a game or two, whatever happens going forward, this defense will put this BYU team in a spot to win any ball game on the schedule. No one in the Big 12 this year is elite. We're seeing that already. Anyone can go down in this Big 12 conference on any given week, and BYU having a foundation of a tough, physical defense is so good to see for BYU because that gives them a chance to win any ball game they play.
My other takeaway, Mitch, was this was the best game we've seen from Jake Retzlaff. 15 of 21, 2 touchdowns, 71% completion, 162 quarterback rating. He had some explosive plays. He rarely put the ball in harm's way. I can think of one situation that it was a 50-50 play and Chase Roberts came down with the catch. That could have been picked off, but it wasn't. I just thought Jake played a great game. You saw what makes him a unique quarterback prospect, that throw to Retzlaff on the touchdown following the Tyler Batty interception. That was a high-level college football throw. Very few quarterbacks in college football can make that throw. And then he took care of the ball. He was opportunistic. I thought that was a great game from Jake Retzlaff. And if that's who you get going forward, Mitch, you could surprise some teams in the remainder of Big 12 play.
Retzlaff was 15 of 21, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. This was Kalani after the game on Retzlaff's performance.
Took care of the football. That's key. I don't think we had a lot of opportunities for the offense because the defense and special teams made a lot of plays and created momentum and had a lot of short fields. Yeah, I thought he handled the offense and actually made some really good checks for us and got everyone set up in a really good position. So Jake's doing a great job managing the offense.
He did a nice job, Jake did, and he's now 4-4 as a starter. After starting 0-4, now he's 4-4 as a starting QB for BYU. My second takeaway was Sione Imoa. He was excellent for BYU. 15 carries, 76 yards, and a touchdown. The final score of the game for BYU. A true freshman. And if you were listening to this show, our Cougar Sports Saturday, every Saturday from noon to 3 during fall camp, we were talking at times about Sione Imoa, but we didn't get much into the weeds about him because, well, he was the 5th-string running back, and in August, you don't talk about many 5th-stringers, but he did look good in fall camp. We saw a big workload for him in camp, but he looked really good.
He was fantastic, and it makes you wonder, when everyone's healthy, how do you divide the reps? Because Moa was breaking tackles. He was dynamic at times. He looks to be a really physical runner. It's a good problem to have when Hinckley Ropati and LJ Martin come back. You ride the hot hand, maybe game to game, but Moa is not someone, Mitch, who, when everyone is healthy, you can't keep him off the field. He's going to have to play. I think he's earned that from his performance against Kansas State.
And Kalani said that LJ Martin this week out. He's not on the depth chart. Hinckley Ropati, there's still hope on him that he could come back, but Sione Imoa, he might have to be your RB1. Let's get out of the phone line, 801-575-8255. We'll bring in Bob from West Valley. Bob, your experience with Kansas State fans over the weekend?
Well, I think you meant Todd.
Oh, Todd. Okay. Sorry, Todd.
Well, no, the interesting thing is playing around on the internet, Facebook groups like that. Almost all of them are still minimizing BYU, saying, oh, we beat ourselves. It was our fault. And I'm like, well, let's see, 3 turnovers. Yeah, but you have to score off of turnovers or they're not worth a nickel.
It's a good point.
The offense did their job and the defense did the bend but don't break. Still virgin end zone the whole game. And if you don't like it, this isn't Kansas anymore, Toto.
Thanks for the call. We appreciate it. I think it's a good point because BYU was opportunistic, Mitch. These turnovers that the Cougar defense forced, they were not flukes. This wasn't a situation of Avery Johnson was looking at his receiver and the center snapped the ball and it bounced off his face mask and they scooped it up. They forced the fumble. They made the plays and then the offense handled it. So I don't think that was necessarily Kansas State making mistakes as it was BYU forcing those mistakes.
Agreed. And to one thing I will say for Kansas State fans, they're just not used to this. Kansas State doesn't beat themselves, and I think that's what makes this win so impressive. You know, Kansas State was a team that had 11 straight games of scoring 28 points or more. And Avery Johnson's one of the rising stars potentially in college football at quarterback, and BYU just shut this team down. And maybe a bonus takeaway, credit to the BYU fan base once again. False starts, illegal formations from K-State. They never do that with Chris Kleiman coached K-State teams. That was even a calling card under Bill Snyder. So BYU fans were electric. The team was on point. Jack Kelly putting a helmet on that ball and jarring it loose from DJ Giddens, and then Tommy Parasis with the scoop and score. BYU was opportunistic, and when the offense got those short fields, I did like how Retzlaff sensed the moment and took shots downfield.
Yep.
That pass to Chase Roberts for a touchdown. It was just a good game by BYU. And look, you can't assume that it's going to happen every week. You get that wild turn of events in a 10-minute stretch, but it's a good feeling to know that BYU is an aggressive team, and they're actually a team that can create some havoc plays on defense. You think about 2 years ago or even last year on defense, BYU never could have dreamed up a scenario where they had that string of success. Never. Yep. They just didn't have those playmakers. They didn't have that belief in the system, and you're seeing that belief show itself because they're playing fast out on the field, and that's why they're off to a 4-0 start.
Let's get to one more call before the break. Speaking of that electric environment, it really was one of the best environments I've been in. Cameron, what was your experience like down at LaVell Edwards Stadium?
It was incredible. I took my 8-year-old son to his first BYU game, and I had never heard noise like that before. It was unbelievable. I was so happy to see that Ryan Smith was there to take some of those ideas back to the Delta Center because the production value, the noise, just the excitement that was generated in that crowd was nothing that I'd ever experienced in my life. And I'm afraid my son will never match that again. So it was a great first really high bar to set for him. It was just unbelievable.
Thanks, Cameron, for the call. It was an amazing atmosphere. I mean, I was thinking my boys were at the game too, and they asked me, Dad, is that the best atmosphere you've ever been a part of? And, I think back to that 2022 Baylor game, 2021 Utah was great. There were some great games in 96, 2001 Utah's up there for me. I think that was one of the loudest games I've ever been a part of. 1990 Miami's incredible. There's been some great ones, 85 Air Force, but this one was special, too, from the fact that it was your big breakthrough in the Big 12, and that makes it special. We got to take a break. On the other side, we'll get to more of your texts, 801-575-8255. This is sponsored by Central Bank, serving Utah County for over 133 years with trusted service, modern technology, and personalized care. Central Bank, proud sponsors of Cougar Nation here on KSL News Radio.